this is Derek with Mechanics Quest coming back. Today we're going to be talking about lowering springs, good or bad. Personally, I have no problems whatsoever with lowering springs. Like anything, any car, I would suggest that you don't just put springs on, especially the cars like your Hondas and your imports and some of these newer Camaros that have the struts. Don't, if you can help it, don't reuse the strut. If it's a new car, that's different. But if you're already taking the struts out and you're already undoing the struts to replace the spring, so why not just replace both? Anyway, my Camaro here, it is lowered and it does have. I purchased it with cut springs, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with cutting your springs. The biggest problem I have with anything is heating your springs. That sounds just flat out crazy. Anyway, I do plan on doing a full suspension kit for this car, just because if I'm going big like this, why don't you just finish the job? Don't cut any corners anywhere with stuff like this. You know, if you're going to go with the pan hard bar that I've discussed in previous videos and stuff like that, you might as well put the track arms on. You might as well go through everything else. Also, in the previous video, we talked about the Mustang being lowered as well. The person did cut the springs as well. There are no supporting mods for the lowering springs. The car doesn't pop or bounce or buck or do anything crazy, but if you're going to do anything with any of these cars, with any car, just spend a little bit extra money, go with the supporting mods. So anyway, there's just so many people, there's so much information about it. It's all hit and miss. People say, yeah, heat your springs. I've heard people say cut your springs. I've heard people say replace your springs. If you do have a good decent spring, you know, there's nothing wrong with cutting them as long as you cut them right. Do not ever heat your springs. That is probably the worst thing. And you know, that's what comments are for. You know, comment below, tell me your opinion. I would like to know anybody and everybody's opinion. I do like the way that lowering springs make a car give it a good stance. I don't like how they're so low that you can't get over a speed bump. You know, give it a nice stance where it feels in the wheel well a little bit. Don't slam the thing where you can't drive it anywhere. So that's just one thing that I wanted to talk about lowering springs. You know, get your sway bar and links. You know, get your sway bar and link bushings. Inspect your sway bar. You know, my wife had a Buick Century many years ago, and she was driving back from my in-laws upstate of Iowa, and she told me that she had a popping noise and the car started to kind of sway a little bit, and she drove it all the way back like that. And but anyway, long story short, I jacked the car up, I took the wheels and tires off, and I just kind of inspected stuff. I looked at the bearings, the hub assemblies, all of that stuff, you know, some of the obvious stuff. But what I did find is there was a rusted area on the sway bar, and the sway bar had to be replaced. So I ended up replacing the sway bar and everything was fine. It was easy peasy. It was pretty easy on that car. Some cars aren't. I used to have a Volkswagen Jetta that I wish I shouldn't have got rid of. I wish I would have had some videos on that car. That was an amazing car. I bought it to flip with a friend, and going back to liking things that you like, I'm a big Volkswagen fan, and I ended up driving the car. I ended up keeping the car. I bought it from my buddy. We went on the flip together. They had a transmission issue, which, if a lot of you don't know, Volkswagen's transmissions don't go bad that often. It's usually the valve bodies. This was an automatic, one of the 6-speed automatics. It was the 2.5 liter straight 5. And so anyway, I put some GLI wheels on it that I got really cheap off of OE oemwheelslc.com. Excuse me, it's oewheelsllc.com. I got the set with a coupon, an online coupon for $300, a chrome GLI wheel. I got all four of them shipped for $300, which is insane for a chrome wheel. And then I wanted the car to pop a little bit, and I'd never done lowering springs, so we we just lowered the car, and did all that kind of stuff, and I just fell in love with the car and decided to keep it. Long story short, bought the car for $800, put the wheels on it, put the lowering springs on it, did some other things. The car was immaculate. I think I would probably say that I had maybe, with the lowering springs, the wheels, a friend of mine owed me some money and he had a good set of tires for it, so I looked out there. But I had maybe, 250 in the lowering kit off eBay. It was a RSR lowering kit. It was a coilover lowering kit. I could lower the car between a quarter of an inch all the way to 4 inches low. And I did that at first just to see what the car would look like, and the tires were just sitting on the fender wells, so I couldn't even go anywhere even if I wanted to like that. But I gave the car a nice stance. The car could get over speed bumps, it could get over curbs, it could do everything I needed the car to do, and it gave it a nice stance. It wasn't slammed or anything like that. It was just a perfect match for that wheel and that car. But anyway, the coilover kit came with everything. I mean everything, and it was pretty straightforward to do. I think what I did have to buy is I had to buy some strut mounts. And I bought those from O'Reilly's. I just sucked them, bought those from O'Reilly's because I was anxious to get the car back together and to see how it went. But long story short, that car went for $4,500 after I had decided to sell it. The company I work for, I drive a company truck, and there was just no point in having the car anymore. It just didn't make sense to have insurance and pay for and have a car. I owned it clean and clear, but own a car that I just was letting collect dust when somebody else could be driving it and enjoying it. So I would say to a safe assessment, I made about $1,800 to $2,000 off of that car. And if I could get another car like that to flip, that would be amazing. But anyway, I was just gonna give you guys a brief video here on lowering springs and the do's and don'ts. And like I said, I want to hear all your opinions. So comment below. Tell me what you think about lowering springs, and all that kind of stuff. Okay? Thanks, guys. Bye.